Life is difficult. Life is a journey. There's lots of things to learn by going through one's life. Whether you're still a child and less in control, or when you grow up and everything is looking at you to solve it. Remember, guys, that your comeback is much better than your setback. Welcome to another episode of GMTV. I'm your host, Moyo. Today, we're going to be talking about the seasons of life, the seasons that you as an individual go through. You won't always be up, you won't always be down, but in all of it, it requires a certain level of consciousness from each and every one of us. Because imagine how life would be if everything was always rosy, was great, and everything was to our tune. Then half of the lessons that you would have today, you wouldn't be with them, you'd be without. Because all those difficult times in your life have made sure to leave a mark for you to have a great learning from it. So much so that you can even advise someone else. Learning how to be present and conscious. It's one of the best things that you can ever do for yourself. Because firstly, you take to stock what exactly is happening in your life. Your abilities, capabilities, shortcomings, all of those things. You're able to have a true representation of what each of them do and are for you. So that you can also evaluate for yourself how best you can perform at the time that you're in. Currently, there is no need to hurry on ahead of where you are right now. For instance, if you want to start a business or perhaps start a YouTube channel, you're going to think, okay, I've got content, I've got a smartphone, and I have a place in the house that has great lighting. If you can identify those things, that's the first top 3 things you'll ever need. Because those are the most inexpensive. But I believe that content is usually the most truthful because it's raw. The more work you do, the more you make money. There's a return on investment. And then you're able to now start adding a microphone to your phone, to add a selfie ring, to add to the light, or to ask a friend to edit your work. All those things eventually, they rise as much as you do as a personality, as an individual. You don't start at the top. It's very few times that you have perhaps an overnight sensation. But even then, I believe that person did a lot of behind the scenes work to build himself up to be exactly that personality of that caliber, that stance, that status, that mindset, for them to be identifiable in the first place. So if you miss the opportunity to start at being present, start at identifying the things that you have and don't have, then you're able to propel yourself and prepare for the next phase of your life. Nature does not hurry, yet it accomplishes everything. Whether it's a bird making a nest for its babies, or it's the growth of a tree, a plant. There's no rush to it, but it's magnificent and beautiful in its rawness and trueness, in its true nature. So don't hurry along wanting to go ahead of exactly where you are now, because it's also going to speak to a level of untruthness that you have with yourself, because you are not being introspective of your true current circumstances. That means to a certain level, you're delusional. And if that becomes the case, then you cannot actively participate in the time that you're in. Don't lose out on an opportunity to identify specific ways of your next growth and the next level. It's like having a project or wanting to start a business, but you don't quite know how much your product is going to cost in manufacturing it. You don't know how you're going to distribute it. You don't know who your clientele is or how your branding should look. But if you sit down with your idea, you go on the net, you visit shops and you visit people and you converse with them, eventually you'll start getting numbers next to each of those headings, because each will give you a rough estimate of how much to achieve that goal. Now, if you come up to a great amount of money, you won't squander it. It'll be more difficult for you to squander it because you have since created a cornerstone of how much actually your dream costs. If I give you R1,000,000, you'll be even happy about the 40 grand extra that you have to make sure that these things can be of a better quality and do more for your business. But if you don't know exactly how much your dream costs, then it's difficult for you to say, my goal is to be, and fill in the dots. What exactly are you looking towards getting to as a milestone? What does it even look like for you? What should you have achieved along the way for you to celebrate that very moment? But if you miss finding out exactly what it takes to make your dreams come true, what it takes for you to thrive in the space and the season that you're in, then it doesn't matter when the next one arrives. You're going to mess up that one too, because you're going to come back having disappointments because you haven't built up to that point. One of the biggest things I can appreciate about a spiritual journey is exactly that: seasons. There's a time when you're sitting at home and it's just you and your psychic powers and your communication from your ancestors. There are many different ways in how it manifests itself for you. It's like one-on-one. This is probably the most confusing stage of all of it, because you've got no one to bounce off ideas off and you don't necessarily know the answers to your own questions. Then there's a part where you start getting a bit more enlightened and your teacher is shown to you. Finally, someone who knows more than I do, right? This person is able to now answer your questions, help you with protocols, dress your spirit or your ancestors or your role in a particular way. Almost like they can think ahead of things that you don't even know you need yet. That person forms the role of a guardian, a parent, so to speak. You always trust your parents' intentions. You open up to them and you develop a relationship further than that, from that point. And that's the relationship that you keep with your teacher as well. So during the learnings, everything will be absolutely new. Now it's a different kind of sensation and information that you're getting in comparison to when you're sitting at home learning about yourself. Now you're learning the why. So the nature of your spirit is highly needed at this point. How? We need your spirit to be teachable, to be grounded, humbled, ready to receive and open to receive. Or else you won't be able to see your role in the relationship you keep with your mentor. Those seasons are not the same to even after you've ascended. That confusion will be far lesser. It won't go away altogether because now the opportunities are different, the challenges are new, and they're speaking to a different level of your consciousness too. When you were being taught, you were confused about yourself and how you're reacting to all the different herbs, the different challenges, to sing, dance, and chant, to how to administer help to someone, and just processing you on a more ascending level. When you've ascended and you are donned the healer that's added to a community under all your different variants, now your challenges become different. You are now challenged by a random person walking into your practice needing help from you. So now you are our first point of reference and you are now in the potential of being a teacher yourself. Every opportunity in your life allows you to teach someone else and to take learnings from other places too. A combination of that allows you to have an evolved spirit. If you feel that you've come to a space in your life that you can't learn anything from anyone, then you have missed the purpose and the meaningfulness of why you exist as a human being, as a spirit altogether. We mirror a lot of ourselves and a lot of our people that we come into spaces with. We gravitate towards people that carry the same energies as we do. We repel those that don't. Some intimidate us. Some are very welcoming. Some aggravate our spirits and they haven't even uttered a word. There's a season for the type of relationships you're going to keep in your life. One of a mentor, one of a lover, one of a child, one of a parent. All those you need to rise up to the occasion, but most importantly, you have to remember what the reason it is that you're being put in that position in the first place. You're in charge and given a responsibility of so many important things. If you miss the reason and the purpose, then it doesn't matter exactly what's going on around you. You cannot contribute effectively and positively to the environment around you. Then you're missing an opportunity to influence. Why would you find that someone started off in a very abusive family? They had all the bad ideas and the wrong ideas of how to be parented and led into life. They go along getting up to no good. Eventually they come across the right spirit and the right energy that's able to speak calmness and grounding into their lives. That person forms the role of a teacher, a mentor, someone you look up to. Whether you go out of your way or not, you're a role model to somebody. Somebody has taken a template of your life and says, I want to be just like you, or at least anything close. From there, I'll find my way. This person then mentors you, cleans you up, helps you build your confidence again. Then you step into whatever spaces you want to, whether it's for learnings and going to school or for taking lessons from that particular person. Eventually you're molded into a specific person and a specific energy, being a body of energy. Now, the season that you are going to be in your life for there is to make sure that you're teachable and are able to carry those very learnings to the next group of people you're going to come into contact with. You're basically going to make a copy of your mentor by you being able to identify the people that need your help. Other relationships that you can keep that will require that will show the kind of season that you're in is perhaps losing the people in your life. Some people can't go with us everywhere we go. We can't maintain the relationship because if we met when we were younger and we used to party and chase girls and drive cars, spin cars, or make clothes, those things that used to join us previously might not be the same things that will help us sustain the relationship in our growth. Some people can't come into the spaces that you're going into, the season you're going into, because it requires you and you alone. So don't feel like you have to drag people along in your life, especially when they feel they don't want to be there. It's okay. Shake it off. You're going to be able to go further because you'll be lighter anyway. So embrace the fact that there's some things that you can't take along with you in the next phase. Careers change all the time. You could be retrenched from your job any day now, especially during this pandemic. But you must be able to identify, what is it that I can move with to the next phase of my life? Shake off whatever you don't need. If the accountancy qualification that you had previously got you to have the job you have, but now you are without, what other skills do you have? How can you use the very same qualification to propel you into the next phase of your life? Take stock. Be mindful of exactly what it is that you have within your favor and what's pulling you down. You can't always take everything to the next phase of your life. Some of you hearing this message are not open to receiving it because you're still holding on to that version of you. The previous one where you used to financially afford yourself, where you used to be a boss in the spaces that were important to you, where you used to drive a certain car and wear certain brands. But now, this season doesn't need you to show up in any of that. There's no place for it. Where your fear is where you are tossed. Where your fear is where you're tasked to go. I had to repeat that because I want you to understand that the fear inside of you about the season that you're in is exactly the energy that's going to propel you to want to succeed. It's going to help you always wake up to push for this narrative, push for this change, and have the energy for it. If your dreams are not scaring you, you're not dreaming hard enough. Have you guys ever heard that phrase? And that's exactly where it stems from. The spaces in which you are called to influence and make drastic and amazing changes are the ones that are going to make you uncomfortable. Learn what your vices are. In your off seasons, prepare for your ups. Think of all the possible scenarios that can come up for you in where you're going, so that even if life happens, you've thought about it to some degree. Don't let the opportunity find you stuck to a certain identity. And most importantly, don't make permanent decisions over a temporary situation. You might be getting divorced right now, feeling like, I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know the version of me as an individual outside of my marriage. I don't know how to not be my parents' child. I don't know how to not be a brand strategist. I don't know. You don't have to know. You just have to keep on relearning yourself, realigning yourself with your purpose, with the why everything began. That's what you need to identify. In the words of Carl Jung, where your fear is where your task is. Remember, whatever denies you, frees you. Think more positively to the times that your life actually changes, for it might seem like the worst at the time, but it's actually for the better. If you can understand that phrase, you can understand that sometimes even in certain relationships we put more efforts than we should, and the balance in the relationship is off whack. You may find that you have a toxic relationship and toxic environment in your workplace, but the amount of work you're putting in it is not giving you back the rewards that you need to see in your life. Whatever denies you, frees you. Move as gracefully as the waters would. Flow with the wind and be part of the earthing and the grounding. Allow yourself to not be stuck in time, but stuck in a journey. Understand that you're in a journey that's full of progression, and part of your progression means sitting down, doing nothing. Not everybody stays where they need to be. And even those that have been successful for a very long time, they know even in that there's seasons. Because it wouldn't be a season if it lacked the lessons. And that is your reason. I have been your host, Gogo Moyo, and thank you for tuning in.
So
okay. Remember, guys, that your downside and the difficult times you go through, your setback, your comeback is always better than your setback. Remember, guys, that no matter what it is that you go through, your setback, comeback. Okay. Okay. That's a fantastic blooper. especially because it's so natural. Like, there's no one that's like... I'm going to repeat the words of Carl Jung.
What's funny?
And I've got big eyes now. You can't even hide it. Okay.